Step into the concept phase of almost any design studio, and you will eventually find a mood board. When the project calls for establishing a baseline of mid-century automotive aesthetics, designers reliably pin up a very specific set of reference prints. Looking at this historical array, the conclusion feels obvious. You hear it across the discipline. Cars used to be beautiful. But there is a mathematical flaw in that assumption. This diagram shows two very different datasets being weighed against each other. On one side, you have this massive, dense block of data, representing the entirety of today's uncurated mass-market production volume, complete with every cheap and compromised vehicle on the road. On the other side, modern production is being judged against an impossibly small, curated fraction of a percent of historical output. You are comparing everything we build today against a survivor set from the past. Selecting this specific comparison is a crucial concept stage design decision. It sets a baseline that dictates the trajectory of everything that follows. If a concept team internalizes this unfair comparison, they'll chase rarity and mistake it for quality. They embed a foundational aesthetic error before the first sketch is even finished. To understand why the mood board looks the way it does, you have to trace those images back to their primary source. That source is typically elite gatherings like the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance and the auctions in Monterey. The design world often reads the result of these events as a statement about automotive history, but that lawn is not an accurate sample of the past. It is an exhibit, and it has been curated twice. The first filter is economic. 60 or 80 years naturally decided which vehicles were worth the cost of keeping. The cars that survived were overwhelmingly the expensive ones. A pristine Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing or a competition Ferrari survived in restorable condition quite simply because it was worth restoring. They are artifacts of capital preservation. The parallel auction markets running alongside the concours mathematically quantify and republish this filter every single August. The historical baseline designer's study is not a record of what was built or even what was driven. It is a record of what proved expensive enough to save. Then there is the second filter, the one designers tend to forget. The curation rules of the concours itself are strictly exclusionary. Entry is not open. The selection committee actively optimizes the field to create a compelling exhibit. They prioritize novelty, provenance, and deliberate rotation over historical representation. The judging structure follows the same logic. It explicitly rewards originality and authenticity to the object as it was designed and delivered. It shows you the original intent, swept completely clean of everything that happened afterward. The cars people actually lived with faded. They were resprayed the wrong color, wore replacement wheels, and rusted from the sills up. None of that reality survives a judging sheet marked on perfect preservation. Compare that to the curatorial philosophy of institutions like the National Motor Museum or the Peterson. These museums hold exhibitions specifically covering the cars from the 1960s onward that ordinary people owned. They preserve the exact vehicle that taught an entire public what a car was supposed to look like. Without these institutions acting deliberately, the everyday baseline of automotive history would be entirely erased by the economic and curatorial filters of the concours elite. Bring this back to the modern design desk, and the danger of an unexamined mood board becomes clear. Reference sets silently inherit the filters of the people who assembled them. Assemble a board from auction results, and you have assembled it by price. Build it from concours coverage, and you adopt the biases of a selection committee. Calibrating your instincts against a survivor set means you are calibrating against statistical outliers. It skews your perception of reality. The discipline to fix this costs nothing. For any reference set, you must be able to name the filter that produced it before you draw from it. If you cannot name the filter, you do not yet know what the set is actually evidence of. Whether relying on historical archives or the generative models we analyze at Depix Design Intelligence, understanding the bias of your input is the only way to control your output. Design decisions are cheap as a sketch, brutal once tooled. See every angle before you build.